When Jesus heard what had happened, he withdrew by boat to a solitary place, but the crowds followed him on foot from the towns. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them and healed their sick. As evening approached, the disciples came to him and said, "This is a remote place, and it's already getting late. Send the crowds away so they can go to the villages and buy themselves some food." Jesus replied, "They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat." They answered, "We have only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish." Jesus said, "Bring them here to me." And he directed the people to sit on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then he gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people. They all ate and were satisfied, and the disciples picked up 12 baskets full of leftover pieces. The number of those who ate was about 5,000 men, besides women and children. Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side, while he dismissed the crowd. After dismissing them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night he was there alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the water, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage. It is I, do not be afraid." Peter replied, "Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," Jesus said. Then Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink. "Lord, save me," he cried. Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" When they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." When they had crossed over, they landed at Gennesaret. The people there recognized Jesus and spread the word throughout the surrounding region. They brought all their sick to him and begged him to let them touch even the edge of his cloak, and all who touched it were healed.